Hi Stampers, this is Kim. Welcome to Great Inspirations, and this is another video for the Stamp Happy Holidays series I'm doing. And today we have 3 cards that I created using my favorite, the Jolly Words stamp set. Now I just really enjoy this stamp set for many reasons, and like I told you in the past, it reminds me of images that would be on cards from the 1950s, maybe early 60s. I also just think it's just very joyful and nostalgic at the same time, a little whimsical, and that just makes me smile. So today I made these 3 cards, but they're not our normal A2 size cards, because sometimes I think we tend to get stuck just making one size card, and there's really nothing wrong with that. But I find when I start making my cards just a little different and maybe do a fun fold or make it a different size, then that helps me to get new perspective on ideas for cards. So these today, what I have is one of my favorite alternative cards is a square card. And this one is, of course, 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. It's a cute little card. 'Tis the season. Lots of gold and white used in this one. And then inside, Merry Christmas. And this Merry Christmas I have not stamped in gold. This is crumb cake. But what you will find is if you use a lot of gold in a card and you use crumb cake, it will take on some characteristics of a gold color. So that's the first card. And then this card looks a lot like this one. Its basic measurements are the same, 4 1/4 by 4 1/4, and of course we've scored it at 4 1/4 because it's, let's see, 8 1/2 by 4 1/4 scored at 4 1/4, and that will give you a square 4 1/4 inch card. We have the Joy, and I've stamped this in the black, so these 2 letters were black, so I simply stamped it with the Poppy Parade and fuzzy cut them and put them over the black letters to make a more joyful card. But this card is what I call a mini easel card, because you can make it sit up, and all I've done is just put some strips. They're 1/4 inch by 4 1/4 inch strips, 3 of them. I've glued them together in the Poppy Parade and put them right here to use as a stopper for my easel. So it stands up, and then of course I have the greeting right here, Happy Christmas Wishes, used a few embellishments, and then here's space to write a message or just sign your name. So that's the mini easel card. And here's the little square card. And now this is my mini slimline card. And it measures 6 1/4 by 3. So when you would cut your cardstock, you would cut it 6 1/4 by 7 and then score it at 3 1/2. Oh, yeah, so this is 6 1/4 by 3 1/2. Okay. Whew, gotta get my math right there. And then you will have the mini slimline card, and of course here's Santa and his reindeer. This is some designer series paper that I embossed with the snowflake embossing folder. And then just inside, wishing you a very Merry Christmas with a few snowflakes. Now, I know you're thinking, now, what kind of envelopes do I put these in? Well, what I do is for these cards that are square like this, I just put them in a regular A2 size envelope or Stampin' Up medium envelopes. And just to snazz this one up a little bit, I put some of the designer series paper that I used on this card on here. Paid really close attention to make sure my words weren't up, or my fa la 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 la's were not upside down. And then as you can see, this slides right in there just fine. And you can mail it just like you mail any other A2 size card. You don't have to worry about the extra postage for it being a square card. And then this one, of course, will fit in that A2 size envelope, and I just put some of the Specialty Designer Series paper on here. It just fits right in there, just perfectly. And then for this size, what I use is an envelope that you would just use to mail a letter. See, just this one, not the business size, the next size down. And I just stamped, I did a little masking on the stamp and just stamped Santa and his reindeer on there and colored it with some Stampin' Blends. But before I did that, I took a little piece of scrap cardstock and put inside the envelope, right like this, all the way down into the corner. Made sure this was large enough to cover my image, or the back of my image. And then I used my alcohol markers. And as you can see, when I took it out, it absorbed all that excess alcohol ink. And if you also look very closely, you can see you need to be very careful on some papers with the alcohol markers because they tend to spread out just a little bit. But if you're just really careful, and what I kind of do, I just kind of get as close to the edge as I can and just kind of do little dots all the way around the edge of the image. And that tends to work. So that's what I did for this card, but you of course do not have to do that. There's nothing wrong with sending a card in just a plain envelope. As you can see, this fits right in there just fine. So let's take these out. And I'm going to move these aside for just a bit. And I did want to mention, if you're like, oh, I don't like to cut my cardstock, I don't want to waste it, I don't want to have little pieces. Well, when I made this, and I cut it, I put the cardstock in my trimmer so that the 11-inch side was along the top of my trimmer. I cut it at the 6 1/4, and then this piece that I had left over, it is 4, I guess I have 2 pieces left over, but it is 4 3/4 inch wide by 8 1/2 inches long. So what you could do, since this is 4 3/4, just cut it down to 4 1/4. You'll have a 1/2 inch of scrap, but then you can use this piece, scored at 4 1/4, and you will have what you need to make a square card or to make the little mini easel card. So that's just, if you plan ahead, you'll have a good way to use almost your entire piece of cardstock. And actually this piece, that 1/2 inch piece that you have left over, you can use to create a little stopper right here. But I thought that we would take a look at some cards, same idea. Here's the square card, but this is just made a little more elegant with a different stamp set and different designer series paper. Put a lot of silver on them. And I use the stamp set Christmas Classics. So here's the Peace on Earth, and then the Season's Greetings, and then of course this piece of greenery. Oh, I don't have one there, do I? Inside. And since these, the main color on them, the metallic color, is silver, instead of the crumb cake, I use smoky slate, and it gives off a silver appearance. Now on the front, those greetings were embossed with silver embossing powder. And this silver paper is an online exclusive. It comes in a pack with silver and gold, a little glimmery paper, but it has adhesive on the back of it. So that's really nice. You can just really easily put it on your cards. Don't have to worry about glue or stamp and seal or anything. It has adhesive on the back. So I thought that since these 2 cards are pretty straightforward, just they're very similar to any A2 card we would make. I thought we would not walk through making them, but we will walk through making that mini easel card. So I have some pieces here. I have a card base. This is a blueberry bushel, and it is 8.5 by 4.25. It is scored at 2 1/8 and 4 1/4. And then these folds, they're both mountain folds. So that's the card base. And then we have a piece, there's a lot of glitter on it, blueberry bushel that is 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. And then we have this piece right here of that silver paper I told you about, and it is 4 by 4. And as you can see, I cut out a square from the center of it with the die so that I can use the piece that I've cut out on another project. And then we have a piece of this pretty Winter Meadow Designer Series paper, and it's 3 3/4 square. And then I have some blueberry bushel, a mat for our greeting, which is right here. And this is cut out with the Nested Essential dies. There are several dies, and they're rectangles with the rounded corners, and this is the largest of those, and then this one is the next size down. Then I have those pieces that are 1/4 inch wide by 4 1/4 inches long of this cardstock, and I've just adhered the 3 of them together, and that's what's going to make our stopper for our easel card. And then I have a greeting, Merry Christmas. And then this is the part that will go right here where you can write a message or sign your name. So let's get this together. Now, as I said, we have this scored at 2 1/4 and 4 1/4. No, 2 1/8 and 4 1/4. Ooh, me and numbers today. So what we're going to do first is I'm going to put some adhesive on this flap. This little flap at the bottom. It's 2 1/8 by 4 1/4 inches. Get my edges a little bit better. And now we're going to bring in this piece of the blueberry bushel, and we are going to just fold this back like this, and I'm just going to line this up as best I absolutely can, get it all nice and even, and press down. And this is going to actually end up being our card front. And this fold is what allows it to move. And I have a little bit of adhesive there. We'll cut that off in just a little bit. And now we're going to put our silver paper on there. And like I said, it has adhesive on the back, so I'm going to use my Take Your Pick tool and use the paper piercing tool part of it. And just peel the backing right off. And then we're going to try to line this up, leave a nice even border all around. Just like that. And then we'll take our Designer Series paper. And we'll put this right on there. And now, let's see, let's go ahead and get the front finished. Put our greeting on its mat. we go. And then I'm going to put this on some dimensionals. See if we can get this centered. Okay, so there's the outside. And then I'm going to use a little adhesive on the back of our greeting that will go at the bottom here. Make a nice little border. And next I'm going to, I think I'll put this on first. I'm going to leave just a bit of a border. And now I'm going to get some liquid adhesive. Bring this back in. And put this right there. See a little bit of adhesive seeping out. There we go. And there is our mini easel card. Just that easy. So let's see. So here's our mini slimline, our little square card, and our mini easel. And I do have envelopes for those as well, just to give you a few more ideas. So for this one, I simply stamped the greenery in the corner and then on the back flap. So there's that one. And then either one of these two could fit in this one, which has some greenery here and of course on the back. But then on this one I put the greenery in the corner, and then back here I put the Designer Series paper. And what I used for this was a piece of Designer Series paper that is 6 inches long by 2.5 inches wide. I put the adhesive on the envelope flap, and pressed my Designer Series paper on it, then turned it this way and trimmed, just trimmed around the flap. That's how I made that. So let's kind of get, there are these cards that I made with the Christmas Classic stamp set. And then here are the other 3 cards that I made with the Jolly Words stamp set. Now, for more information about these cards, as far as the cutting measurements and the supplies I used, that will all be in my corresponding blog post. And the link to that blog post will be located in the description of this video. I want to thank you so much for joining me today for my Stamp Happy Holiday series. And until next time, stamp happy.